Hey YouTube, I just want to share a few points about this article that I found online. It's written by medico.com. This is a company that has a lot of things moving really quickly now when it comes to digital assets and custody holdings for institutions like banks. Medico is a Swiss company and it's been around for a while, but in 2023, Ripple, which are the ones who hold XRP as the digital asset, are the ones that have now acquired Medico. So Medico, who was already poised to become the major digital asset holder for banks and institutions, is now owned by Ripple. I'm going to share a couple of paragraphs in this article that really should ring the alarm bells for you when it comes to how important owning digital assets ahead of the curve is and how soon this is all going to start to take off. So, this article was written November 7th, 2023. Banks and financial service institutions, long the trusted guardians of traditional financial assets, have an opportunity to capitalize on this growth by diversifying into new crypto custody solutions designed explicitly for the unique needs of digital assets. The definition of digital assets has widened beyond just cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ether, and XRP to encompass a broad range of other tokenized assets whose value is represented on a blockchain. These assets include stablecoins, tokenized real-world assets like stocks and bonds, central bank digital currencies, and more. At their peak in November of 2021, these assets represented a $3 trillion market. That's important to note because even though more money is coming into this space, November 2021 had triple the amount of money in the market as even is right now at this moment. The combination of greater institutional interest in digital assets and increasing regulatory clarity around the world has opened the door for banks to meet this urgent need for trusted crypto custody providers. This is evidenced by the increasing number of banks entering the digital asset custody market to meet accelerating demand. At its most basic, the custodian of a digital asset refers to the party that controls a blockchain wallet's private keys. In order to have cryptocurrencies or any digital assets on the blockchain, you're going to need some sort of private keys. So there's three types: non-custodial wallets, institutional self-custody, or institutional sub-custody. So it's pretty evident that the banks, and they've already said it and they've already admitted as much to this, is that they're going to go with institutional sub-custody, which engages one or more licensed third-party custody providers to assume these responsibilities. And Medico just so happens to be one of these and one of the forerunners of custodying digital assets for institutions such as banks. What is important here is that they're saying the bottom line: in most cases, banks are seeking solutions that allow them to engage in digital asset trading, custody, and staking themselves or on behalf of clients. They need a solution that allows them to go to market quickly and easily. Think weeks, not months, without having to make significant investments in infrastructure or expertise. So, again, this article was written November 7th. They're talking about having some sort of setup that the banks could get in on digital asset trading and custody and staking, not just for their clients, but also for themselves. Okay, they want somewhere to put their money. They know that a lot of money could go into digital assets, including cryptocurrencies, and they're talking about doing this within weeks and not months. This is one of the biggest reasons why they're definitely going to be using third-party custody providers, just because they want to get in the game and they're wanting to get into it quickly. Make no mistake, they've been planning this for quite a long time, setting up their own infrastructure within the banks and institutions to be able to do this. But In terms of digital asset custody holders, they're planning on going with third parties, and this is happening in weeks without having to make significant investments in infrastructure or expertise. So it's just a lot easier for them to go this route, and this is what they're doing. So there's a ton of information out there that's already telling us that this is going to happen. But this one is pretty telling because it's telling you weeks and not months. It's really important for anybody who's considering getting into cryptocurrencies because a lot of people tend to just think it's not important. And the media has done a very good job of making it seem like they're not going to get into this stuff. They don't want anything to do with this. There's nothing further from the truth. They are getting into it. And once they do, a lot of money will be causing these cryptocurrency values to go up. And if you're ahead of the game, and if you've already been invested in it, you're the one that's set up to be the one who benefits from it, rather than every other time when anything comes into play in the world, it's usually the bigger institutions and companies that benefit, and the little person has to just go along with it. One way or the other, cryptocurrencies and digital assets on the whole are our future, whether we like it or not. And so, really, it just becomes a choice of whether or not you want to invest into this now, where you'll be able to profit from it, or where you're going to have to throw all your investments into it, anyways, at the end of the day, if you want to be able to function in this society.
I think one of the things that will surprise us a year from now is that banks will be custodying digital assets directly. And I think right now we think about that and think, look, there's no way that's going to happen. They're too conservative. And I think what you're seeing is, two things happening. One is banks are seeing that a lot of money is being made by digital asset exchanges globally, and banks are profit motivated. The second, and as we've talked about up here, certainly Ross has made very clear, is regulatory clarity and regulatory frameworks enable banks and financial institutions to lean into these markets.
How many banks will want your Bitcoin? Well, you see what's going on right now is there's a French bank that wants to custody Bitcoin. There's a German bank that wants to custody Bitcoin. There's a Singapore bank that wants to custody Bitcoin. The banks in the UAE are getting into the business. The banks in Spain are getting into the business. The banks in the US are getting into the business.
What we're seeing now is an acceleration towards this reconcentration of assets under custody in banking. We believe, and I think it's materializing right now, that this wide distribution that we have seen historically of digital assets being allocated across thousands and thousands of companies and millions of individuals will end up being statistically a lot allocated with a few large banking institutions.